It's 2023 and you've just redeemed your old school RuneScape membership. Now you've got this humongous map, hundreds of quests to complete, dozens of skills to train. Where on earth do you start? In this video, we're going to answer that question. Transportation. It's a big world and you're going nowhere fast if you don't unlock ways to navigate the map quickly. Straight out of free-to-play, there are ways to navigate this whole new world. You can simply walk around, but it's slow. You can use teleport tablets and jewellery, but it's expensive early on. You can use minigame teleports, but they have a 30-minute cooldown. And you can use boats. They're still kind of slow and they cost some money. The Tree Gnome Village and the Grand Tree quests unlock spirit trees and gnome gliders. They are both free methods of transportation and take you across the entire continent. Plague City and Biohazard unlocks the Ardoin teleport and is a requirement to unlock the Ardoin cloak, which also gives you a teleport. Fairy Tail Part 1 and the first chapter of Fairy Tail Part 2 unlock the best transportation network in the game by far. They're the fairy rings. These fairy rings reach every part of Old School's world, and it's definitely something worth unlocking. Every new member should work towards these things. Combine the Arday cloak, which teleports you near a fairy ring, with the fairy rings, and you can travel anywhere you'd like really quickly. Train the agility skill using the rooftop courses. The agility skill itself makes your run energy recharge faster, and it unlocks shortcuts throughout the world. And doing the rooftop courses specifically are important because it lets you collect marks of grace, which are used to purchase the graceful outfit, which also recharges your run energy faster, letting you run for much longer. Training agility and getting the graceful outfit, along with unlocking all the transportation quests, makes navigating this huge world much easier, and it's something all new players should strive towards. Now let's move on. Assuming you've become a member with low stats, maybe you have a pretty new account, or perhaps you completed free to play and you have level 40 or 50 stats. Regardless, when you become a member, you're going to want to get easy XP from completable quests. These quests include the Waterfall quest. It's a classic RuneScape quest. It has no requirements to complete and gets you over 13,000 XP in strength and attack when you complete the quest. If you had 1 attack and strength when you started this quest, when you complete it, you will instantly get 30 attack and strength. It's worth doing. The Witch's House quest is another short quest that can be completed at low level, but it does require you to fight some creatures. It rewards a nice cheeky 6,000 hit points XP. The fight arena is fairly similar too. You have to fight a couple of creatures, but like the Witch's House quest, you can safe spot these creatures with a magic spell. Fire Strike only requires 13 magic. It rewards 12,000 attack XP and 2,000 thieving XP. The 2 gnome quests that we already talked about in the last section, Tree Gnome Village and the Grand Tree, those quests unlock transportation methods but also give you a lot of XP. The Tree Gnome Village quest gives 11,000 attack XP and the Grand Tree quest gives 18,000 attack XP, 8,000 agility XP and 2,000 magic XP. The Holy Grail is another one that can be completed at low level with some cheeky methods to do the fight within the quest, and it rewards a whopping 11,000 prayer XP and 15,000 defense XP. So if you have a brand new account that you just made a member, after completing all of these quests, you would go from having level 1 stats to having 44 attack, 30 strength, 23 hit points, 14 thieving, 28 prayer, and 31 defense. That's a lot of early game grinding that you've just bypassed by completing all these quests. The 6 quests that I just listed are the main ones that give a big reward for very little requirements, but there's a bunch of quests that you can complete early on for good XP or for good unlocks. Here's a quick list that I wrote up, but there's also an activity advisor in the game. Clicking on this button, it recommends quests to complete and gives a short reason as to why you should complete that quest. It's a work in progress from Jagex. Hopefully it gets better in the future, but if you're looking for a quest to complete, this can tell you what to do. Money making. For regular old school RuneScape accounts, you're going to need a lot of GP to buy gear, teleports, supplies, and whatever else you need during your adventures. It's important to make money, even more so if you're using in-game bonds to supply your RuneScape membership. Here are 3 recurring money-making methods that you can do when you log in each day to help build up your bank balance. Buying battle staves from Zaf. This requires the Varrock diary to be completed, and the higher the tier you've completed of the diary, the more staves you can buy, meaning more profit. Complete the Varrock medium diary to make it worth your time. That way you'll make 35k in about 1 minute every single day. To level up the farming skill, players do something called farm runs. It means travelling to a bunch of different farming patches throughout the world to either plant or harvest their crops. The most profitable thing to grow when farming are herbs, and you can also grow some hops to make more GP. Farming Runarweed only requires 32 herblore, and you can net about 150 to 210k GP in less than 10 minutes. If you add in hops to your run, you can farm jute fibers for an extra 80k GP for about 5 minutes of your time. Farm runs are something you can do multiple times per day, not just once per day, so you can increase your daily GP gain significantly by doing multiple runs per day. And the final one we're going to mention is managing miscellanea. It requires a bunch of quests to be complete, but after completing them, you get the full benefit of this minigame. If you were to do these 3 recurring money making methods once per day, for over 20 minutes of your time after you log in, you can make over 350k GP. The profit will go up with the better Varrock diaries completed, and with more farming patches unlocked through questing and leveling. The OSRS wiki has a list of even more recurring money makers that you can unlock, and just below that list there's another list with actual money making methods. This list of money makers shows the requirements, the estimated GP per hour, and even the intensity level. The higher level your account, obviously the better money makers you can unlock, but assuming you're a new member, you're lower level, let's highlight a few that are worth a shot. AFK money making. If you're watching movies or TV shows and you're looking for a good second monitor, minimized or mobile money making experience, Smith Cannonballs. It's a super AFK early moneymaker and only requires the completion of the Dwarf Cannon quest, which is super easy, and 35 smithing. Its GP per hour is only like 110k, but it's one of the most AFKable activities within RuneScape, only having to click every 2.5 minutes. But my personal favourite AFK moneymaker is stringing longbows. Level fletching to 55, which is quite easy, then begin adding bowstring to maple longbows. You just buy maple longbows unstrung from the Grand Exchange, you buy the bowstring from the Grand Exchange, combine them, then sell them. You get over 100k fletching XP per hour and make over 200k GP per hour. It isn't as AFKable as cannonballs, but you're making much more money and you're getting a lot of XP. Once you get to level 70 fletching from doing this, you can move on to stringing new longbows, which is more money and more XP. Then eventually 85 fletching, you can move on further to stringing magic longbows, and it's all super low input AFKable. But ultimately, AFK moneymakers are always going to be lower GP per hour than other money making methods due to the low amount of effort required. I recommend making money from AFK methods while you're not really focused on old school RuneScape. Combine that with the recurring money making methods after you log in. Your bank value will increase significantly if you do these things. But if you're looking for some dirty, quick and easy GP that has no requirements, doesn't give you any XP, you can tan Dragonhide. You can make between 300 and 500k GP per hour. That's a lot of GP for needing 0 levels, but it doesn't give you any XP in the slightest, so you're not leveling anything up, and it can be quite dull. Leveling up while making GP is my favourite way of earning gold. You get to make money while progressing your account, and I definitely recommend that for lower leveled accounts who need GP and stats. The magic skill is one of the most important in RuneScape, and it can also be the source of a lot of good money making methods. One way to level up early on while making GP is to make teleportation tablets. You can use a maxed player's playground house on world 330 at Remington, and you start off making Varrock teleport tabs at level 25 magic for roughly 100k GP per hour along with 25k XP per hour. And at level 40 magic you can move on to make house teleport tabs for over 250k GP per hour while still getting about 30k XP per hour. Training the smithing skill using the Blast Furnace minigame is an incredible way to make gold while leveling the smithing skill. It's quite high intensity, but just look at this table. Making iron bars can be up to 280k GP per hour and requires only 15 smithing. At level 30 smithing, that basically doubles. If you want to level smithing, do this with the Blast Furnace. You will be rich in no time. Rune crafting can be leveled while making good GP. At level 27 rune crafting you can make cosmic runes, and at 44 rune crafting you can make nature runes, and gathering skills like mining, woodcutting and fishing all make you GP as you train them, as long as you bank and sell the resources that you've gathered. And you can pick and choose which tree you want to cut, which fish you want to fish, which rock you want to mine, and pick the more profitable ones. The Slayer skill is a monster slaying skill, and at higher levels when more monsters are unlocked, Slayer begins to become very profitable. Every single skill, except construction, can be trained in a way that makes you GP. You can find training guides for each skill on the Wikipedia. There's hundreds of YouTube videos, websites, guides. Find the training methods that involve making GP if you want to make GP. There's also training methods that just give you levels super quick. Ultimately, however, if you have a new member, a new account, low level stats, and you need to make some GP, use the money making list on the wiki and find the one that suits you most. Find one that you have the requirements for and the one you like the look of. Perhaps if you see a good money making method that you don't have requirements for but you would like to try it, make that your goal. Which moves us on to goals. After working your way through this early membership guide, it's time to think about what comes next. It's time to work towards RuneScape's mid-game. So let's start off with some gear goals. The Fighter's Torso. This is an item that you can purchase from the Barbarian Assault minigame, which is a minigame where you defeat waves of monsters in a unique way. The Torso requires 40 defense to equip and gives an incredibly good strength bonus, equivalent to gear that costs tens of millions of GP. The Helm of Net is not. This helmet is incredibly useful and will be your go-to melee helmet for a long time since it provides decent defense stats comparable to a Rune full helmet, but also gives a +3 strength bonus and +3 prayer bonus. It does require 55 defense to equip and the completion of the Fremenic Isles quest. Barrow's Gloves. These gloves are some of RuneScape's best pieces of gear. They provide attack bonuses for every single combat stat and have a +12 strength bonus too. These are a must-have but require the completion of the Recipe for Disaster quest, which has 8 sub-quests within it and has a very wide range of requirements to complete it. However, it should be one of your first long-term goals to complete this giant quest and get these Barrow's Gloves. They're very powerful and versatile. The Dragon Defender. This, much like the last 3 pieces of gear, is very important to get for melee combat due to its high strength and attack bonuses. It requires access to the Warriors Guild, which means you need to have your strength and attack levels come up to a total of 130, but the Defender itself requires only 6 to attack to wield. There's a little minigame in there where you have to defeat suits of armor for tokens, and you take those tokens and fight Cyclopses that drop the defenders. The Dragon Scimitar is the best scimitar in the game and will be your go-to melee weapon until you get an Abyssal Whip. To wear it you need 6 to attack and to complete the Monkey Madness quest. This quest is listed as a master quest, but its requirements are pretty low, and although it's a very long quest, it's still possible to complete with fairly low stats. The Fire Cape. This is arguably the hardest piece of gear to get in this list due to its difficult combat challenge. To get a Fire Cape, players have to fight their way through 63 waves of enemies before fighting the final boss Jad. For experienced players this challenge isn't a huge deal anymore, but for people who have never done it before, it is a genuine challenge, but one worth conquering. For the second best melee cape in the game, you will use this Fire Cape for months and months, potentially years. Those are 6 pieces of gear that are incredibly important to every RuneScape account, and they should be a goal of yours to get them. The Slayer Helmet is another piece of gear worth getting. You need 400 Slayer points, 55 crafting, and a black mask which costs about 1 million GP. When using it to train Slayer, it's the best helmet as it provides a 16% melee boost, and it can be upgraded to provide a 15% range and magic boost too. But it's only useful when training Slayer. Otherwise, your Net is Not helmet mentioned before will still be the best thing to wear. Another combat oriented goal is unlocking the Piety Prayer by completing the King's Ransom quest and the Night's Waves Training Grounds activity. This prayer has high requirements to use, 70 prayer and 70 defense, but it is absolutely worth making a goal because it's an insanely powerful prayer. Now for some less combat oriented goals, you can do some diary completions. I'd recommend starting off by completing every single medium diary. Each diary completion rewards players with a unique piece of diary equipment, some XP lamps, and with unique buffs that can sometimes be very beneficial. Each diary has a set of requirements to be complete, so it gives players skills to level up and quests to complete as a goal. And since I heavily recommended to farm herbs, doing herb runs as a good source of money making, a good goal would be to unlock more herb patches. Only about 50% of the herb patches are available without having to complete any quest. The rest of them are unlocked via quests, and the more you can access, the higher your profit per herb run. And for a final non-combat oriented goal that you can have is completing all of the Zaya favor. Zaya is a whole other continent on RuneScape with lots of content inside it. Doing certain activities within each area of Zaya unlocks favor for that area, and with favor comes more useful content including blood rune crafting, the farming guild, the woodcutting guild, angler fishing, a lizardman boss, and more things. It's worth at some point getting 100% favor in each house. So that's it, you've just become a member and you've found this video what to do as a new member. Hopefully you've got a good idea now. I'd recommend watching my 2-part series called Maintaining Membership, where I use a new account to try and make enough GP to buy a bond, while trying to progress the account at the same time. You might find it useful and enjoyable. Goodbye.